All right, what's up, guys? We are now going into week 2 of the football season. How's everybody feeling after week 1?
Some good, some bad.
Yeah, positives, negatives. Well, we'll see. Week 1 is expected.
That's true. Well, we'll recap real quick over how we played it against Bowling Green. Some stats I have of note: Joe Milton, 11 for 23 passing, 140 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 14 carries, 44 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Both of our starting running backs, Tion and Jabari, both went for 116 apiece. Each had 1 touchdown. That blows my mind because how many times do you see a 1 running back and your second running back hitting the exact same number of touchdowns and yards? That's crazy. Defensively, Theo Jackson had 11 tackles, led the team. Alante was right behind him with 6 tackles. Bayless had 2 kickoff returns for 52 yards, and Tion was graded the second highest running back for week 1, according to PFF, right behind Tank Bigsby at Auburn. So, may I ask you guys, what are the biggest positives from game 1?
I would say for me, it was, I think the flow of the offense when it was on a roll was exciting to see. I was worried about getting lined up and getting in a rhythm, and we saw the positive of that on the first 2 drives of there were no replays hardly. They didn't have time to show replays at all. Getting up to the line and snapping the ball within less than 10 seconds a lot of times. So I loved that we had, and I mentioned this last week on the podcast, an identity, and I think that was our identity. There were some downsides when we weren't in rhythm, and we saw that when adversity kind of hit us. But I really liked the flow of the offense. I really liked how as soon as the ball was ruled down or the runner was ruled down, everybody was getting back to the line. And I know that's easy to say in a fast-paced offense, but we've seen teams try to run this. They get up to the line. They've got guys that are they can't get to the line. They're rushing to get to the line. They snap the ball. They're not set. They don't know what play they're calling. And we didn't really see that very much when we were rolling. And I think that was exciting. And another one for me was the halftime adjustments. I mean, I think we definitely made some key halftime adjustments, which we have not seen out of Jeremy Pruitt. We never saw that from him. That was something very annoying. We wanted to see something different, and it just seemed like it was just beating a dead horse. Let's keep trying it. I mean, that's what we saw against Georgia State. I know we don't want to talk about that, but that was big. I mean, we saw we're Tennessee, we're in the SEC, we're better. We're going to keep doing the same thing we're doing, and it didn't work. We saw some changes. We saw some more pressure on defense in the third quarter to get us back to a comfortable lead. And, I think that was definitely some positives to take from the offensive and defensive side of the ball.
All right, what you got, Trey?
I got a question for you guys. What the heck was Will Friend doing? I mean, our O-line, I know it was Bowling Green, but, I mean, they really dominated the line of scrimmage in, pass pro and in the run game. I mean, when you have 2 running backs go for 320 yards, that was a really big positive to me. That was actually one of the things I mentioned in our first podcast previewing the Bowling Green game. I wanted to see our O-line show that they could dominate an inferior team, and we got that. Carvin, Spraggins both really surprised me. Carvin being able to slide over to center when Cooper went down, that was a big plus. That just shows the versatility of those guys up front. And, just the fact that our run game, I know the focus in this offense is spreading it out, hitting them vertically under Heupel, but people forget that the run game is a big key in setting all that other cool, fun stuff up. So that was a big strength I saw Saturday night. obviously there were some glaring issues, some things that I think we can work out on the offensive side of the ball. But as far as defense goes, again, at the line of scrimmage, the D line, they really surprised me. You had Simmons showing out, Big O, Omari Thomas, even DeJoun Terry, the transfer from Kansas. He got a couple rushes. Caleb Tremblay had a QB rush or QB hurry. I mean, they only allowed 32 rushing yards, so anytime you can limit your opponent, you can kind of take away that side. You make them one-dimensional. It makes it easy. So a lot of good things and a lot of bad I'm sure we'll get into, but definitely things we can build upon. I didn't see really anything that was, like it's going to be a long season unless it doesn't get fixed. So.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I thought that we played great, and I was impressed overall. I mean, based on the brand of football we've seen over the past 3 years, and even beyond that, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's nice to be able to go out there and when they're clicking and they're running what they want to do, and just it's just insane seeing how in the first drive that we had, we scored in 2 minutes and 12 seconds. When I can't remember. I mean, it's taken Pruitt a whole quarter to drive down the field before. It's crazy. It's truly mind-blowing to me. And I think that there was a lot of good. Our run game looks incredible. I know people are going to say, oh, it's just Bowling Green. Anytime that you have two guys, like you said, two guys that go for over a combined 300 yards, you got to tip your hat. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go out and do that against every SEC opponent, but it shows that they are capable of doing just that. They're going to be dangerous, both of them. We have Thunder and Lightning. And defensively, I thought we looked great overall. Tim Banks is doing an awesome job. Rodney Garner is that guy. That line looks awesome to me. I'm pretty excited. One thing, though, that did seem to be an issue to me that it's going to be fixed, I feel like. Where's Jalen Hyatt's hands? What happened? It killed me. Killed me watching him miss two balls that just hit him right in the numbers, and he normally comes down with it. I think the receivers have to catch those balls, and Joe Milton's got to make better throws as well. I mean, that's what it's going to boil down to. How about y'all? What do y'all think?
So yeah, that was being in the stadium, I kind of had to. Sometimes you just got to watch it on TV to really get the full picture. Being there and at the game, you're kind of in the moment. But after rewatching it, I had to kind of dial myself back and realize this is Milton's first year at Tennessee in this offense with these coaches. And, he's still gelling with his wide receivers and vice versa. The wide receivers are still gelling with him. I know they've had, and again, keep in mind, he didn't get here until after spring. So that being said, practice reps are totally different than game reps. And, routes are ran differently. Timing is different. I mean, you got actual guys from a different team, a different school running at you, guarding you. So I think it's just as bad as it is to say it, they're going to have to work the kinks out in the passing game. And we don't really have time to do that with Pitt coming in, unfortunately. But, I think as the season progresses, we're going to see the passing game get better, and we're going to see less and less drops. And we're going to see Milton actually be able to hit those explosive plays over the top. And I think for Jalen Hyatt, I think a lot of it, he's been kind of hearing the hype coming into this year as far as being the number one wide receiver on this team. And I'm not sure if that played a role. I think it's just more of, like I was saying, just having more time, trying to, develop that chemistry with Joe Milton.
Yeah, and I think that when we look at Milton's decision making, on one side you have somebody who made a lot of plays with his legs, made a lot of good decisions. The bad decisions weren't devastating, and we've seen that. Not just from Garantano, but from other quarterbacks, we've seen this decision making that leads to devastation. The Kentucky game last year with the, back-to-back pick sixes that just, we were done after that. There was no coming back from that. The team was just, they were in awe, they were in shock. But we've seen even prior to that, with other quarterbacks, Maurer, Shroud, guys like that who would make good plays, and then the bad plays would be devastating to the landscape of the game. And I think that in Milton's case, there wasn't anything you looked at and you were just like, what are you doing? There were some overthrows. He's got a cannon. He stood there like a statue and then just so nonchalantly flung the ball 60 yards down the field. And like Trey, like you just said, game reps are different. When you're just back there just doing your thing, but when you've got bodies coming at you, you got to learn how to do different things. Even if you're not being pressured and hurried, you still have that intuition, that clock in your head that, hey, if I don't get rid of this ball, I could get blindsided any second. There was a lot of routes down the middle of the field that he missed. They were there. I know that, it's probably already happened, if not tomorrow, that they'll be watching this film. They'll point things like that out. But those are correctable things. We saw him do some great things. And I think with the wide receivers, not just, with Hyatt's drops, and I know some people like to use this as an excuse, but I really don't feel like we opened up the playbook at all. We heard all about Velus Jones, utilizing him everywhere. He was not at all. Hyatt missed some plays, but Hyatt was not utilized like we thought. The guy that we saw was Tillman. Every deep ball was to Tillman. The touchdown, the one-on-one fired it right there. He got over, the deep safety or the cornerback there. He was utilized, and we've talked about him being a weapon. We didn't see, I believe, the playbook opened at all. And that doesn't mean running trickery or running these, things, but, when are we going to see a Velus jet sweep? When are we going to see a screen pass to Velus? And, when are we going to see Hyatt, line up and just, one-on-one coverage to come down with it? We need to get our tight ends more utilized. I think I saw that Fant had one grab. That was it. No Warren, nothing from the tight end position. The middle of the field was open. I think Milton could have hit some of those. And on the defensive side, it was just a secondary. And I think we all knew that was going to be an issue coming in. But I think Bowling Green, they ran a lot of out patterns, very short. I think we weren't willing to give up the big play. I think against Pitt and other teams, you're going to see us, get a little bit more pressure from other positions on the field, not necessarily all out blitzes, but, we saw some of that especially with Theo, who had a heck of a game. It seemed like he was everywhere. That one screen that Alante read and just, he hit the guy right as the ball got there. Just that mindset. I think we'll see more of that from the secondary and linebackers. Yeah, the defensive line, I don't care if you're playing a high school team to get that kind of pressure. We've not seen that when we played high school or low teams. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is we did the things that you were supposed to do. And that's how Tennessee's going to get back. We're not being ignorant saying we're going to win an SEC championship anytime soon, but you have to beat the teams you should beat, and you have to dominate different positions. We said they have no O-line. Our D-line needs to dominate, and they did that. And it can be easy saying, well, it was just expected. But it's been expected for years, and we've not seen that out of groups. And I think seeing that and seeing them rise to the occasion in the first game, and a lot of these guys getting, reps for the first time, meaningful reps, not just one every now and then. They were bringing it every play to the end of the game. I love when, Tremblay was like, it was like 3 plays in a row. He was like, the ball was snapped and he was 2 feet in the backfield. And it was just like, this is awesome to see. We're up by 32 late in the game, and maybe our third string or fourth string nose tackle D lineman is getting back there. I mean, that's the stuff you want to see as development. And I mean, I was pleased. Even the negatives showed a little bit of positivity when we corrected them, especially at halftime.
Exactly. I agree with all that. To build on top of that, if you are out there and you are mad that we won over 32 points, you are mad about that, just find a different fan base, please. Like, I don't see how anyone could possibly be angry over this. It amazes me. We'll get to some very angry people on our Negavolved week as that comes, because I promise you I've got a great one for you. Go on to some Pitt preview, some stats. So they beat UMass this past weekend, 51-7. Kenny Pickett, who is back for his 100th season, he was 27 for 37 with 272 yards and 2 touchdown passes. The team that had 5 rushing touchdowns over 41 carries for 223 yards and 6 receivers averaged over 10 yards per catch. So say what you will. I mean, it's UMass. It's just like saying, oh, it's Bowling Green. Like, you're not going to get that even type of comparison. And it's really probably not going to tell you that much of anything week 1. But what this showed me from watching some highlights and some of their game and just looking at the stats themselves, they've got some power in their offense as well. I mean, 27 for 37. We're going to have to be everywhere. I mean, that's an understatement. Kenny Pickett is an excellent passer. Like I said, he's been in college for, I don't know how he keeps getting eligibility. It's like every year he gets better too, and it's amazing. And then you have people like JG who every year gets worse, which I don't understand. But this quarterback that we're going up against, our secondary, showed a little bit of weakness the other night. That's, I'd say, the one low point against Bowling Green. But they're going to have to step up if we're going to have any chance whatsoever. Personally, I think we're going to win this game. I just think that we've got a better overall roster up and down. I think we're going to get some of these kinks figured out on offense. I think, as Adam said, we're going to open the playbook. I mean, we're just going to see a lot more, and you couldn't evenly judge what was done week 1 for either team. But I'd say the biggest key to that game is our secondary. I mean, it starts there. If you can't cover anything hardly against Bowling Green, then you're probably going to have a long day. So got to get that figured out, get the deep balls figured out, and maybe get Milton to put a little bit of touch and take off the 100-mile-per-hour fastballs that's coming at your face. A little too much there. What do y'all have?
I mean, in looking at it, I look more, I think, as you mentioned, at our deficiencies rather than Pittsburgh's efficiency. I think Pittsburgh doesn't scare me as an offensive team, but what scares me is, as you mentioned, our secondary. Our linebacker depth is there on paper, but correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see this. Did Juwan Mitchell have 1 tackle?
He did.
I didn't think he did, and I mean, I was a little surprised that he wasn't involved. I figured he would be. We heard about his vocal leadership and how guys were feeding off of him. We need our linebacker core. I think the key is, as you mentioned, is our secondary, but I want to say more of our key is our D-line, just because this is not being negative. We're going to talk about negative balls, and somebody, said on Twitter, they put something nice. They said, you can criticize without being negative. I'm not sitting here going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't have faith in our secondary right now. I don't. And so I hope that they prove me wrong. They come up with some, awesome coverage. But for us to be able to go out and do what we want to do, our D line has to get pressure like they did against Bowling Green. Pickett he rushed for 8 scores last year in goal to go situations. In the red zone, he is electric. He can make plays with his feet. Running game doesn't scare me one bit. They didn't rush for much, last year. I want to say it was, barely over 100 yards rushed, 120 yards on the ground last season. That doesn't scare me. Their wideouts don't scare me. There's some veterans. There's a lot of depth there. They don't scare me that they're going to go out and just burn us every play. But if we get lost, like we've seen in the past, if we're trying to do too much and we're just giving up 7 yards, 7 yards, 7 yards, and then getting beat, our D line has to keep us in this game. Offensively, I think we'll be all right. Their defense is pretty good, but I think if we can get in a rhythm, we'll be all right. But I think our D line is going to be. We're going to say after this game, if we won, we're going to say it's because of our D line, and if we didn't, it's going to be because of our secondary. But I think that's going to be an effect of just no pressure. I mean, letting them go back there and stand there for days, because we've got physical D backs. I mean, we've seen that with Taylor, we've seen that with Theo, and these Flowers, these different guys, but they're not. They don't give you a lot of confidence right now, and it's not being negative. It's just what we've seen, and they can go out there and Pinkett can throw for 400 yards against our defense, or we can shut him down. And it's going to be a key, because if we're going to be running our fast-paced offense, even if we come away with some scores, we're going to have to stop them. Because they're going to get the ball a lot too, and that's an effect of this offense. It's the faster you go, the quicker you're giving the ball back. You just hope you come up with points, and if you don't, you can't get in a rhythm. You're counting on your defense to do a lot, and that's a tall task to ask for a very inexperienced and not too talented defense right now. But we'll see if they can grow up quickly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a tough game. It opened at Pitt being a 1.5 point favorite, so it's already moved up to 3.5, favoring Pitt. So that shows you what the public thinks. Really, Pickett's great. I mean, he's very versatile. I mean, he can run. He's very quick, and he can make the plays. He can make the passes as well. And they got a guy, Jordan Addison, wide receiver. That'll be your main guy to keep an eye on in that offense. And then they got a couple running backs. Vincent Davis is kind of their short yardage, goal line duty guy, and he can lay the hammer. So we're going to have, like you were saying, linebacker depth to be able to, take those blows and be able to get some push and hopefully, cause some turnovers. That'd be great too. We saw that's what I want to lead into. We're going to have to take advantage of opportunities against this team. And we didn't really against Bowling Green. And I mean, Pickett has thrown an interception in over half the games he started in his career. He's had a long career, so that's a lot of interceptions. So when those opportunities come, we're going to have to take advantage of them. You saw Theo Jackson drop the wide. I mean, it hit him right in the hands, man. So those are the type of plays we're going to have to make to, I think, that are going to turn the tide in this game. Their O-line, not very good. They allow a lot of QB hurries. That's also half the reason why Pickett's thrown so many interceptions. Their O-line's experienced, but not very good. They're all juniors and seniors up there. So they got a couple transfers in to replace a guy or two that here and there, but they're all very experienced in that offense. Doesn't mean that they are very good. Kind of similar to what we were saying with their transfers. It's a lot of talent, but they're on a 3-7 team. So that's kind of tuning into the Pitt crowd. That's kind of how they feel about their O-line. We need to make them one-dimensional. If we can not let Pickett escape the pocket and take away their run game and make him make tough throws, that's just going to help our D backs. That's going to play into kind of our weakness. If we can get some pass rush, then that'll definitely help out our back end when it comes to that. And then executing offensively, again, we got to take advantage of opportunities. They lost a lot to the NFL draft, a lot of talent left, but more's coming in. Narduzzi's notorious for having tough defenses. We got to keep having success in the run game. We got to keep them off balance, up tempo, mistake free. UCF actually, Heupel played against Pitt in 2019. Pitt squeaked by and beat them 35-34. So got a little bit of history scouting those guys over there. So hopefully that helps out as well.
All right. Well, my prediction for the game, I'll go ahead and drop that. I'd say Tennessee is going to win 34-31. I feel like it's going to be a late field goal type situation where we win. I think it's going to be very close pretty much the whole way through. Won't see anything very high scoring numbers, but it's not going to be a low scoring game either. So I'm going 34-31. UT gets the win.
I've been back and forth on this, but I'm going to go 38-30 Pitt. I just think that I think we're going to make improvements, but I think that some of our decision making, I'm not the bench Milton crowd at all. I think Milton is our guy. I think Milton will see a drastic improvement this week. He played great. I mean, he scored. He played great, missed some reads. I think Pitt will get some crucial turnovers. I think as Trey mentioned, we need to make sure we take advantage of those. I think it'll be a game in which it's back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a comeback by either team. But I think the difference is going to be, something that Heupel's not experienced much, but Tennessee has is not having a lot of success in the red zone and in getting it down in field goal range, and some costly penalties we've seen, some interceptions late. I just think I don't see any like horrific turnovers. I just see the difference being, in that 30, we got 3 touchdowns and 3 field goals. And I think that Pitt is going to score, 5 touchdowns and 1 field goal. I think they're going to convert. I think Pickett's red zone game is going to hurt us. I don't think that our linebackers are going to be able to stop him and keep him, as Trey mentioned, keep him in the pocket. I think it's something that's going to be on paper. Hopefully it's in the mind of Heupel and Banks and the staff. I just don't know, even if we plan to stop it, if we have the linebacker speed and readability to get there. And I think right now Pitt has a little more experience, has a little more of an identity that's established, and I'm glad that we're getting there. I hope that I'm wrong. I just think that the experience of Pitt's team playing together, the staff, Pickett's 1,000th year there, the familiarity. I was really hoping this would be a night game, so we could see the crowd. I'm hoping the crowd gets into it and plays an effect. I know Vol Nation will be there, but a noon game as opposed to a 7 or 8 game in Neyland is a little bit different. And I think that puts a disadvantage being at Neyland. But I don't see Tennessee making enough plays down the stretch to win right now. I hope I'm wrong and we can roll 3-0 into Gainesville, but I'm going to go 38-30 Pitt right now.
So it's tough. It's going to be a close game, one way or the other. I really don't see it being more than maybe a 13 or 14 point game, maybe a score late there to get it to that. So I've been back and forth before the season, kind of earlier in the preseason. I was pretty hopeful that we could beat this team, and I still think we can. But just kind of looking at it on paper and just watching both teams, Pitt, I mean, their systems in place. Their strength is defense, and we have a totally new offense, something that's new to us as fans of Tennessee, new to Tennessee, and still kind of fresh to the nation, as a whole. Um, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have the system well oiled. Um, One of those things is your depth on the defensive side of the ball. If your offense goes out there and goes 3-and-out consecutive drives, you're really going to eat into your depth on defense. And that's just something we can't have against this Pitt team because of, the fact that they have a dual threat quarterback. If you start getting into your Salon Pages and Aaron Beasley's out there, I mean, I watched the tape and it's not going to cut it against, even a Pitt offense that's not really scary. They're just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen. We really gotta sustain those drives on offense, and with the glaring issues that I saw against Bowling Green, I'm just not, like you were saying, I'm just not very confident in this team right now. It's not saying it can't get fixed later in the year. As of right now, the strengths that Pitt has compared to where we are as a program, I have to lean Pitt here, even at home. I'm going to go Pitt 28, Tennessee 24.
All right, so I'm the only one who has hope and who is looking through the orange blinders, I guess you could say. But I do feel good. A couple things to note. Coach Heupel said Cooper Mays is 100%, so that's all good. That is monumental for us because if he goes down, as we saw, it's not very pretty behind him. I mean, because somebody's going to have to move over. In Corbin's case, he moves over. You gotta plug that position somewhere else, and it's just that is the one group I'd say that an injury would probably hurt the most, in my opinion. Also, Javonte Spraggins, guy I absolutely love, tweeted out, "I promise on God, me and my brothers are about to put on more steam." So if that does not hype you up on this Sunday night, on this game week, I don't know what to tell you because that makes me want to run through a brick wall. They're going to be bringing the heat, and I'm ready. So we will move on now to our Community Scholar of the Week. We've got Alontae Taylor today. He's from Manchester, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes or so from where my dad lives. Absolutely awesome place, Coffee County, shout out. So let me run through a few things about him. He was a part of the Vol Leaders Academy, of course. He visited Belize and like teach kids how to play sports and like just different things, getting them out of the house, away from the streets, and just promoting change over there. And it's really refreshing to see that. If you ever get time, I'd suggest going to his Twitter and looking at the videos. They're pretty cool. A lot of them are really, really, really interesting. And he's with Casey Funderburg from BFL Films and a few other people, and they're just going around interviewing the kids. Like it's really neat. I really like that. He represented us at SEC Media Days, which he said following a press conference there that was his dream. When he was younger, he always grew up wanting to be a Vol. When he first got to campus, he said that that's what he wants to do. One day he wants to represent us at Media Days because it just means a lot to him. He is on the 2021 Football Leadership Council for the SEC as the vice chairman. So he was voted amongst all of his peers in the SEC as a whole to have that position. So that's really interesting. Made the SEC academic honor roll multiple times, and he was named to the third team all SEC preseason team. Like I said the other night, he had 6 tackles. Great guy on and off the field. Do y'all have anything to say about Alontae?
I mean, I think back to, we've mentioned all the transfers a lot, and I think back to, we were going like day after day and wondering who was going to be a part of this team. You have a new coaching staff, a long coaching search amidst a, internal investigation, not knowing what players are involved, and a 3-7 season. And I remember he put something on Twitter just confirming his allegiance to Tennessee. And we've seen all the hype videos, and he's been right there in the thick of it. And I think he's held a lot of this team together. Without a coach, we went through with Fulmer, and then there was Steele, whatever Steele was getting paid to do here, and all this, madness and chaos of knowing, not knowing what was going on, and Alante just holding that team together, and on Twitter being very vocal towards recruits, talking about how much it means to be a Vol, and he said, "This is home. I can go play somewhere else and maybe have success, but I'm a Vol for life." And he really, I'm wearing the shirt, and that's what he kept saying. It's something. It's not just a saying. It's not just something to print on a T-shirt. You are a Vol for life. And Jason Swain corrected me on that a few weeks ago when I said former Vol wide receiver or former wide receiver or something like that. And he said, if there is no former, you're a Vol for life. And I think that's something we've seen a lot, and at times we haven't seen it. And that was one thing I wanted to mention was seeing all the players on the sidelines, former players, and pregame listening to the show, and Casey Clausen jumping up on stage. And I think Alante kind of bringing the team together and showing them what it means to be a Vol for life is definitely going to help the family atmosphere that Heupel's trying to go for. So great guy, very deserving.
So to touch on what you said a little bit, Maddie, and I as a former athlete, collegiate athlete, it means a lot to be able to go back to your hometown. To those kids, it means a lot to them, and you may not think it. I mean, being a college kid, it's sometimes easy to quote unquote get lost in the kind of do your own thing and back to his former school and talk to those kids. And one of the things he talked to him about was doing well in school. And that's it's as a kid, you don't really expect that out of a Tennessee football player, to be talking about doing well in school. When they show up, your mind is immediately football. So for him to, encourage the kids to do well in school and be educated and just stay on the right path in the classroom and on the field is very refreshing. And, he was talking about how he almost quit football to pursue other sports. And he was just talking to them about how it's okay to have those doubts and to have those feelings, but it's important to express them and talk about them. So a little bit of the mental health and just being able to, confident in talking about your feelings and expressing those feelings. So great player, great guy, great attitude, definitely a leader for the Vols, and I'm glad he stuck around.
Yep, me and you both. So now it is time to do a 180 and go to the worst of the worst. It's our Negavols of the week. I wonder who everybody's got this week. Will Vols picks be the overwhelming winner, or will there be another one? Who do y'all have? I'll start with y'all this time.
You start us off, Trey.
You know me. I'm not gonna really point out anyone. It was just I saw a lot of the. It's like give the kid a chance when it comes to Joe Milton. I mean, it's his first game in a Volunteers uniform in Neyland Stadium at night. I don't care who he could have been playing. 80,000 people. Who wouldn't be nervous Michigan? So this was really his first game since and benched, one of the two, probably a little bit of both. But I just saw a lot of the what is he doing? I mean, he's got a 20-yard pass and he throws. We're not dealing with a guy who's been here for 4 years and been given plenty of opportunities. Okay, there's a difference. There's a very definite line between what we've had in the past. He's gone. He's out of here. It's Joe Milton. Don't be calling for a backup. I mean, if Heupel thought there was a better quarterback on the team, we would have seen more of him on Thursday night. It would have been more of a real real life in game competition between Milton and Bailey or Hooker, and we didn't see that. We saw Milton all the way out, and Heupel said, even in the post game press conference that he never once had a tough decision on whether to pull Milton or not. It was Milton all the way. He never doubted it one bit. So let's just give the guy a chance, relax, and take it one game at a time. There's some things he's got to work on, and I'm confident that he can kind of iron them out. So that's who I got. Negaval of the week. All you guys saying to bench Milton?
Good one, very good one.
That was one I debated on. That and all the people who like to attack Andy. Andy made an appearance on the radio this week with Ramon Foster. I mean, that guy has more passion than a lot of these Vol fans have, and people get mad at negativity and stuff like that. But I think I like the draft personally. I mean, I thought it was pretty good, and I think if half of Vol Nation had that kind of passion and desire to want to see the best in the Vols, I think is important. I'm going to be a little more specific than Trey, and I'm going to make it 2 weeks in a row, and I'm going to go with Vols picks. Maddie's happy and clapping. I feel like we've got to have a Negavol of the week, and then we've got to also have a Vols picks tweet of the week. But literally on the same thread, he contradicted himself. He asked about 6 questions. I'm not going to read them all for time purposes, but an account was talking about the impressive game from Mackenzie Milton. If anybody watched that, it was super impressive to see what he was doing at Florida State. We know the medical miracle story. If you didn't, ESPN talked about it 10,000 times. We saw his mom and his dad in the crowd 10 million times. And it is a great story. At least it's not, like a reality music show where, a kid had a boo-boo when they were 4 and now we want to see them be the next American Idol or something. But literally he asked all these questions about Milton, saying, makes you wonder why the kid left UCF to begin with. Was he not getting coached well enough there? We obviously know who the coach was there, was Heupel. And then he ended up asking, I wonder if he got kicked out of school and it's maybe just being kept under the radar. It was multiple questions like this, just questioning. I wonder if maybe this happened. For him to then end a tweet saying, and I quote, I do my own research. I get firsthand knowledge. If all you Google obsessive people out there want to Google what firsthand knowledge means, it basically means you're not getting knowledge from anywhere but the direct source. So apparently Vols Picks is letting us know that Danny White and him are pretty tight. UCF is pretty tight. He knows all about this. Why do we need Adam Schefter? Why do we need Waj, Shams? Why do we need these guys? And we've got Vols Picks. Listen, we love sports. We have a lot of friends as part of the Rocky Top Sports Nation that kind of give us some inside things of what they hear. We had, I don't know if he wants to mention, so I'm not going to mention his name, but we had somebody that told us at least a few days that Byron Young might be suspended because of some prep school stuff. And we're not saying, we knew it before, but we just had somebody who kind of told us that. We're never going to go out here and tweet that we we have direct knowledge of something unless we do. The only thing that we've done is something in regards to on the sidelines is a recruit that we heard filmed a video. We got confirmation that he did, but it's he's holding on to that commitment video. And we heard a lot of rumblings that it might have been released one night. We got a lot of Twitter people sliding into my DMs getting mad. Well, why would you report it? I wasn't reporting the kid was going to commit. I was reporting that there could be a possible connection at 8 between the guy he's been working with to commit, saying there was going to be a big announcement at 8, and the fact that he just filmed this video. So don't think we're ever going to go out here and say we have this inside information. The only one who really has true inside information is Vols Picks, and we just have to live with that. He's got direct knowledge. I mean, you cannot compete with direct knowledge. But shout out to Andy VFL Bowser. Go listen to that rap. It is Biggie 2.0. It was some great stuff.
God, Vols Picks, man, you just know how to put a smile on my face, honestly. Like, I could be having the worst day ever, and I could just read one take that he has, and my day would be better because it's just so bad that it makes me laugh. Like, God, I really hope that no one gets their knowledge or sources from that guy, because God bless them if they do. But I tweeted after the game, when I saw nothing but complaints, I tweeted, "We won by 32 points and people are complaining. LMAO." This winner that I have this week, we've got Living in the Past at Living Past. He responds to my tweet and says, "You and others will understand over the next few weeks why we are complaining and angry. We are Tennessee. We are not covering while also not blowing out the 129th rated college football team. It is embarrassing. I've watched UT football for 50 years, and last night was the lowest point. Enjoy the win." I've got a few things on that one. First of all, everyone who wants to say they were the 129th rated offense, that was last year. Plot twist, it's not the same team this year. I don't know if people don't realize it. Teams change with the years, but they do. It's not the same team. So, I mean, they might not be just like a top 50 offense, but they're probably not 129th rated. I've seen a lot worse. Okay, Vanderbilt. Then we've got not covering. Believe it or not, nobody cares. Like, I don't care if we win by 5 points or if we win by 500. A win is a win. I mean, I'd be mad if we only beat Bowling Green by 5, but we won by 32, and this guy is mad that we didn't win by 34. He's mad because we didn't score an extra 2 points. And then my favorite to top it all off was when he ended with, "I've watched UT football for 50 years, and last night was the lowest point." If you've watched it for 50 years, how bad was Georgia State? Did you just not feel anything? Did you just like try to forget that even happened? It's like he's acting like that game never happened, ever. I'm just amazed. If last night was the lowest point for you, not the investigation that we don't know what the result's going to be, not losing to Georgia State at home, not losing to Kentucky at home and getting blown out at that, but winning by 32 is the lowest point, you've got some issues, man. So congrats to Living Past and Vols Picks. Y'all are some winners.
He's apparently not living too far in the past if that's his worst memory. Oh
God,
my goodness.
I'm just truly amazed. Like that one right there, I was just like, okay.
He's not read the Decade of Dysfunction book.
Great
apparently
book.
He's not seen the Pig Howard fumble, the last second Florida Hail Mary, or my personal least favorite that I think I almost injured myself on was the LSU game. We beat them, and then too many men on the field, and I think I about broke my hand on that one. So that's some good. That's some good picks.
we've been through it as fans, and if that is the lowest point, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You're not living in the past. You're living in I don't know, fantasy land for all I know.
It back to what I found is get on Twitter and be the first. You know, they want to. It doesn't matter if they believe it or not. Half the time, they don't even believe what they're tweeting. They're just looking to stir people up and make people mad and really get under people's skin. And it's just enough. You know, it's just it adds entertainment. It's fun to sometimes get on the timeline and see all these ludicrous takes, but as it relates to the team, you know, we just don't need that. We don't need your negative mindset, okay? Let's just take it a week by week and see where this thing goes.
Yes. Thank you. We're gonna move on to some pick 'em, but first I want to get everybody's thoughts. What was y'all's favorite game to watch this weekend? Because for me, I have to go with Notre Dame and Florida State. That was
Yeah, I agree. That Notre Dame Florida State game was great. It was great to see the story, great to see the comeback. Hated the result. Obviously, did not want to see Notre Dame win. We made that pretty clear last week, even if we did pick them. The ice, the kicker thing, you know, nailing the one from 50 plus and then missing the one that mattered after the challenge, and then to the post game Brian Kelly comments about execution. I mean, it had the game had it all. But it was a good college football weekend, a lot of close games. I would say that the most fun one I had following, because I could not find the game and ESPN Plus would not work, was seeing my local team ETSU take down Vandy. You know, I had shout out Sidelines Vandy, who was in my mentions all week long about how Joe Milton was bad and how Vandy was going to go 8-4 and all this junk, and saying they were going to compete for the East if they could fix some things. And Ken Seals was about to light up the world. He didn't even throw for a touchdown against the Bucks. Come on now. They didn't play Tampa Bay. They played ETSU. Okay. They've only had a football team for a few years. Okay. Before they used to be decent playing in the SoCon years ago. I mean, that was pathetic. And literally the only thing they could tweet out during the game was, hey, they have new Pepsi machines installed at the field. And I mean, I was like, all those 14 fans are really going to enjoy that. But I mean, I'm just like, that's an embarrassing loss. I mean, that's Georgia State level that we had. And I don't know if Vandy comes back from that, but apparently, you know, Sidelines Vanderbilt said that, you know, Matt Campbell lost his first game to a nobody at Iowa State, and look what he's doing now. So, you know, there's pulling out all this stuff. You know, I once, you know, ate a hot dog at a game and we won. So if I eat a hot dog next, I mean, just, you lost to ETSU and you got blown out. You scored a field goal against ETSU, who's not going to win many games this year. I mean, they're just not. So that was probably the most fun game to follow. It was just that Vandy's such a inept program that it was nowhere to be found. Even if SEC Network has 2 alternate channels, still couldn't find it.
God.
So, yeah, I actually saw someone, you know, they said that Vanderbilt really needs to look at getting out of the SEC. And I agree with them. As sad as it is to say, they just, you know, at some point, someone's going to get hurt or someone's going to, like, it's just not going to be good. They can't compete. I don't see them winning an SEC game this year. It's just, I mean, if we ever lose to, I mean, we lost to Georgia State, but if we ever lose to ETSU, the last thing you'll hear me say is, oh, so-and-so coach lost his first game and now they're winning 7 or 8 games a year. I mean, that would be the last thing I would say. I think I would just pretend college football didn't exist that season if we lost the game.
Jeremy Pruitt beat him by 52. So, I mean, you have no excuse.
Oh, yeah, that right there is,
First
that's
week of college
amazing.
football, you had everything you could ask for. We had upsets here and there, a couple close calls with a couple of teams that you didn't, the line was a lot bigger than the margin they actually won by. One of the most surprising ones to me was Virginia Tech knocking off North Carolina. Or maybe not one of the most surprising, but I just didn't see it coming. It's Sam Howell was supposed to be a Heisman contender. He did not play good at all. And that Virginia Tech defense is not by any means on paper supposed to be anywhere as good as what they played on that Friday night. So Virginia Tech getting the win there. That's a top 10 team getting knocked off. You had Oklahoma in a close one with Tulane. I thought Tulane was going to pull that one out. Came up a half yard short. I was really hoping they would. I mean, all these people picking Oklahoma back to the college football playoff. I just don't see it. I don't care that the Big 12 is trash. I just do not think they're a playoff team. Spencer Rattler is not a good quarterback. You say what you want, but I don't know. So there's another one. Penn State knocking off Wisconsin. Their quarterback, they had high hopes for him. They're mad online about it. They do not like that guy now. Oregon squeaking by Fresno State. I mean, you go down the line, there were just so many good games, but really, I mean, tonight is actually the quote unquote cap on the first week, I guess, but we all know last night was the story with Mackenzie Milton and Mike Norvell maybe bringing back some relevance to Florida State. And the Brian Kelly quote, overtime, the timeout, icing your own kicker. It had it all. So I would probably go with that one.
Yep, it was a great slate. Great first kickoff weekend. One thing before we do a pick 'em, I want to note, this came out tonight. So Georgia has had like a massive COVID spike or something, and Kirby Smart has said that they have no idea if they're even going to play this Saturday. So we could see our first forfeit. Georgia taking it
all. So that's something I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
How's the playoff committee gonna, how are they gonna evaluate those types of games? Because I mean, you saw Sankey came out and said if an SEC team has to forfeit due to COVID, it's a loss. So, will the playoff committee take that into account and say, well, that loss didn't really count, or will it just, it's on your record, so it counts,
I don't know. See, that's what I'm really curious to see is like, I don't know who it's going to be, but I know there's going to be a relevant team that this happens to this year. And it's going to be, well, Notre Dame didn't have this, so we're going to slide them in instead of this team that's really good. It's going to happen. And that's going to be the way that Notre Dame gets in the playoff. I've just made my mind up. It's the only way.
And I think it does matter too with who the games are that are canceled. I mean, if it's Tennessee, well, I'm going to leave Tennessee out of this because they're not going to be in a playoff committee discussion. But if it's Georgia playing one of their out of conference ones, and they finish 11-1 or something, as opposed to it being Florida, I mean, I think it's going to depend a lot at the end of the year. But that is something that I've thought about. Like if the playoff committee comes down to it, do you let a 10-2 team in the playoffs because you have other teams that would be 11-1, but now they're 10-2 because they have a forfeited loss. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Maddie. I think that's going to either be how Notre Dame or just some team like, I won't say Bama because I think they look unstoppable, but a team like Georgia will get in. They'll have a COVID case against a Florida big game or something like that, and they won't have to play it. And they'll be like, oh, they would have won it. They'll put it in. And it's going to end up pushing somebody out that may have been deserving, but it's going to be chaotic come playoff time. You're going to have a lot more forfeits, I think, this year. It's going to be some games that matter.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on and something I'm going to be watching because if they have to forfeit this game, there's going to be, I mean, it's not just Georgia that has implications. It's everyone below them also has those implications as well. So that's really interesting. So for these week 2 pick'ems, week 1 got our records, assuming that Ole Miss has sealed it. I'm sure it's way out of reach. Does anyone have a score on that?
It's 29-10 at the end of the third quarter, but seems like Ole Miss is in the red zone, up 19. So you're looking at least a field goal, be up by 22 more than likely. So I highly doubt Louisville comes back from that.
All right, so we'll say that Ole Miss has won. So that would put our records at the end of week 1. Adam is in first. You went 16-4. Trey, you went 15-5. So you're second, and then I'm third at 14-6. So it's 16, 15, 14.
Hey, we did well.
Who did I miss on? I'm just curious. Who did I miss on? I know Wisconsin.
You missed on Vanderbilt. We all missed on Vanderbilt.
Hey, I'm happy with that.
UNC was a miss for everybody. Wisconsin game. I had everything all down, and then I had to erase it so I could put everything else back up.
Okay.
LSU was another one.
Yeah.
So, great. See, y'all two have gone with Pitt. So next we have Florida and South Florida. Again, Florida was not very impressed by Emory Jones. Does not look good. This guy who replaced him looked awesome. So Dan Mullen said that he is still riding with Emory Jones. So that, to me, I took that as the AK-40 or AK-15 dude, AR-15, whatever his gun name is. He's going to end up being the starter against Tennessee, and he's probably going to ball out. So there's that. I'll take Florida over South Florida, although I was not very impressed with them at all. They've got a lot to work on.
Yeah. AR-15, really cool nickname. Not sure what Mullen is seeing out of Emory Jones. I mean, I've seen a lot of people online saying, well, look what, Joe Burrow, he sat under people for years, and then it's not the same. It's not the same. Emory Jones is not Joe Burrow, and he's going to get benched. You're right, Maddie. He's not going to finish the year out as the starter. They're going to start, is it Anthony Richardson?
That's it.
Yeah. Richardson. I mean, he'll end up being your starter there. He looked to be the part. They're going to struggle in the passing game, but just a better decision maker, better quarterback, in my opinion. 29-point favorite. That's high. I feel like coming off maybe a disappointing performance. I think Florida will cover that. Maybe see some AR-15 after halftime.
Okay, got Florida.
Yep, I agree. I think Florida wins. I think Florida covers, and let's just hope that the Emory Jones, the end of his starting reign is the UT game. After the UT game, let's hope we're the ones that show him. Not too, I don't think it's going to happen, but not too hopeful. But anyways, I think there's just too much talent, regardless of who the quarterback is. So I'll take Florida in the over.
Okay. Now we've got A&M and Colorado. A&M struggled the first half against Kent State, but then the second half lit up the scoreboard. I have to go with A&M here. I mean, A&M's clearly the better program than Colorado right now as to where they are. They too have some things to work on, but it just goes to show you how good of a coach Jimbo Fisher is to come out and make those necessary adjustments. So give me A&M, and I'll take A&M by a lot.
Yeah, A&M, Texas A&M is actually one of the teams I didn't really get to watch week 1. But I'm looking for the spread here. What's the spread on that game?
I want to say it was like 17 last I checked.
17.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, Colorado, I mean, they get to see a familiar face to Tennessee fans. JT Shrout with Colorado now. It's just Jimbo. He's got them loaded up with talent down there, and not sure if Texas A&M covers. They'll definitely win that game, in my opinion. I think Texas A&M is going to be your second best team in the West this season. LSU definitely didn't look the part. I know Ole Miss right now is absolutely blasting Louisville, but I think Texas A&M is still the better team. So, yep, I think they'll handle Colorado pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take Texas A&M. I think they play a lot better this week. After watching some film, making some corrections, I don't think they make the same early mistakes they did. I think they cover pretty easily against Colorado. I'll pick them by probably around 28-30.
We've all got A&M. Moving on to Texas and Arkansas. This is one spread worth noting. Currently got Texas by 6.5. Personally, I'm going to take Texas, and I think Texas does not keep it close at all. I don't know why it's only 6.5. It should be a lot more than that because Arkansas did not look good at all. I don't know if any of y'all got the joy of getting to watch any bits and pieces of that game. Somebody had the funniest tweet of the weekend. I'm still laughing over it. It was Arkansas and then shaking hands and the meat eating with chopsticks, and it was trouble handling rice. I mean, if you're having problems handling rice, I don't think you're going to keep it very close against Texas. So I'm saying Texas, and I say Texas blows them out of the water. I don't think that's going to be very close at all.
I agree. One of the more popular in the gambling world, one of the more popular underdog moneyline picks was Louisiana Lafayette over Texas, and Texas they covered the spread by a lot. They looked really good under Sarkisian in his first game with Texas. Arkansas, as you said, wasn't able to handle rice very well. They overcooked it a little bit. So I think Texas. I'm with you. I think it might be a little closer than what week one showed us. Just with it being a rivalry, and I think Sam Pittman's a good coach. I know last year, their final record really didn't indicate how much he had elevated Arkansas as a program. So I'll take Texas by 13.
Good pick. Good pick.
Yeah, I agree with what you all said. I think Texas wins. I don't think it's particularly close late. I think it could be through three quarters. And I think Texas will go on a little swing there early in the fourth quarter to kind of put it out of reach. I just don't think there's enough talent there at Arkansas right now. I do think Sam Pittman has turned them around, but they've been in a pretty bad spot for the last few years. So I think Texas. I think Texas wins. I'll go Texas by about 25.
All right. I agree. I don't think it's going to be very close at all. Moving on to a barn burner of a game, NC State and Mississippi State. Oh, God. Mississippi State. I just got to ask, what are you doing down there? I don't know what is going on down there, but they've got a lot going on that they need to fix, because if they play the way that they did against La Tech, I don't know if they're going to win any SEC games this year. It was bad. It was really ugly, and they should have lost the game. So because of that, because of how terrible they looked, I'm riding with NC State on this one. Last time I saw a spread, it was like an even spread. So it just goes to show you both programs not doing too well at the moment, but I'd take NC State over Mississippi State.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't know if you remember, Maddie, but you were talking about the air raid offense, and you actually picked La Tech to cover. So I said that I didn't know a lot about La Tech, and I thought the spread would be a lot closer. So that should have been the easiest bet we made all weekend right there had we listened to ourselves. But I was really surprised at what, from what we saw from Mississippi State. They were able to come back and pull off, but things turned around fast. I don't see them lasting, maybe one more year, depending on how this season goes. But the line is currently sitting at 1. Mississippi State's 1-point favorite, so I'll take NC State money line. I'll gladly double my money right there.
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm about to do.
Wolfpack, baby.
I'm not gonna watch a second of this game and put myself through this torture. If you all want to join me in a nice nap in a few weeks down the road, Mississippi State and Vandy play, so that may be the one win SEC. I'm actually gonna go a little different. I'm gonna pick Mississippi State to win. I have no confidence in Mississippi State whatsoever. I think I don't have any confidence in NC State. So it's basically picking who I think does maybe one thing right. It's like Bob Barker on The Price is Right. Did they get one number right? I think they'll do one more thing right than NC State, and I think that they'll act like they just won the national championship when they beat them. I think it's going to be a horrible, horrible looking game. I agree with you with Leach. The air raid offense is just not working in the SEC. Shout out again to Boss Picks, who has tweeted multiple times this offseason about how much we're going to realize that we missed out on Mike Leach. But now it's crickets. And I get it's one game. I get it. I'm not overreacting. They could go 11-1, but the way he likes to jump to conclusions after one game that Joe Milton's not the answer, I'll say, where are you going back on Mike Leach in Tennessee? But I think Mississippi State, I don't even want to say makes less mistakes. I just think one leprechaun comes out for them and helps them on one drive, and they win the game either like 7-6 or like 63-62. It's just going to be a really ugly, ugly game. But I'll pick Mississippi State.
Okay, Mississippi State. That is fair. We got one game that I'm really excited about watching. I'd go out and say that's the SEC game of the week: Kentucky and Missouri. Based on what I saw week 1, Missouri, I don't know where all this they're going to finish second in the SEC talk has come from, because they did not impress me whatsoever. They looked pretty rough, honestly. Pretty rough against Central Michigan. Kentucky, on the other hand, looked pretty good. So I'm going to go with Kentucky right now. I have the line at Kentucky. I say Kentucky, and I say they cover. There you go.
It's tough. It's tough because Kentucky looked really good. They looked really good, and I mean they were playing ULM, but they came out and something we haven't seen in quite a while. Kentucky has a quarterback who can actually throw the ball and looks super confident in the pocket. Will Levis played lights out. On the other hand, Mizzou, they struggled with Central Michigan, trailed a little bit early in that game. Like I said, don't get the hype behind him. They did pull it out. Mizzou beat them last year at home by 10. I think Kentucky's a much better team this year. it's tough because just the moment you start believing in Kentucky, they'll let you down. But the same can be said for Missouri. I'll go with Kentucky since it's in Lexington. So I'll say they'll win. I don't know. I don't like that line. You said it was at -5. I don't like that. I don't know if Kentucky's a whole touchdown better. I think they win a close one by 3 or 4.
Well, I'll add a little bit more fuel to the fire with my last tweet. At Brando A. King said, "What I've learned from this first real week of college football: no one can touch Alabama. .. But Kentucky. But Kentucky.
You got to be kidding me.
No, dude.
No,
I saw that tweet.
this
I
is
about died.
this is on there, and went through and replied to people, letting them know like this is not a joke. Kentucky looked impressive. Kentucky is not going to get anywhere close to Bama. In fact, no one in the SEC is going to get close to Bama except for Georgia. But Georgia doesn't have a great quarterback. We'll talk about that later. Even if you're playing Clemson, they. But anyways, I don't think Kentucky's that team to beat Bama. I do think they are the team to beat Missouri. I think they will beat Missouri. I think they'll beat them. I do think they'll beat them by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to pick Kentucky by 14. I think Missouri is just not there yet. I'm not convinced in Kentucky. I agree with what you said, Trey. I do think they'll let us down. I hope they do, but unless it's a game we need them to, unless they're playing like Florida or something. I think that they will get a little hype going in a few weeks. I don't know who they play in week 3, 4, and 5, but I think they'll get a little hype, maybe get a lot of that. Oh, they may be a top 15 team. They may be the team to beat behind Georgia this year. If they can put up the offensive numbers and just score a little bit, their defense can hold. And then right as you're talking about that, they'll lose to somebody like Mississippi State or Arkansas or somebody they're not supposed to. But for this week, I'll go with Kentucky by 2 touchdowns.
All right. Now we are on to another great game this week. We've got Colorado State playing Vanderbilt.
I won't watch a second of that game.
So the last time I checked the line, Vandy was actually the favorite by 2 points. But because of what I saw last week, I'm going to take Colorado State, and I'm about to pull this up and check and see if this line's moved at all. Because if it has, oh, dang, I was going to say, because if Vandy's still favored, bet the house on Colorado State. I do not trust Vandy at all.
Yeah, America's already pushed that up to 4.5. Colorado State's a 4.5 point favorite. So it's already moved by a full touchdown almost.
It's a good try, but yeah, Colorado State, Vandy, I'm taking Colorado State. I had to throw that in for fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, not really too sure what Colorado State has, but whatever they got, it's got to be better than whatever they got in Nashville because Vanderbilt stunk it up. And if you let ETSU march into town and take you out to the Kid Rock Bar and the Florida Georgia Line Bar and down to Losers and then all the way back to East Tennessee, you're not beating Colorado State.
Yeah, and this I'm looking here, and it's on ESPN. Colorado State has now moved up to a 7-point favorite, so it's continuing to move. America does not like Vandy. This game is in Colorado State at night. If you've ever seen around Colorado State, it's a beautiful area. Never been there, but I know that it's pretty around there. That's going to be the only pretty thing Vandy sees. They're going to go 0-2 with losses to ETSU and Colorado State. And Ken Seals is going to get the Heisman, but it's going to be the Heisman for something completely different than college football. Yeah, I can't out of good conscience pick a team that just lost to ETSU. I mean, you just can't. This isn't basketball. I mean, this isn't ETSU basketball. This is football. Like Vandy's like the 9th or 10th best football team right now in the state of Tennessee, and I saw that tweet, like people were putting Marable and Oak Ridge ahead of them. I mean, like it's a joke, but I mean, it makes you wonder, like, how bad is Vandy? And I could see Vandy going 1-11 and their only win being against UT, but let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, Colorado State. I'll pick Colorado State by 10.
All right, we'll move on to a game that I'm actually honestly really excited to see. Ohio State and Oregon. I picked against Ohio State last week, and it looked for 3/4 of the game, it looked like I was right until Ibrahim got hurt. After that, Minnesota's team kind of went down. Ohio State made the necessary adjustments. I mean, it's just what they do. It's what they're notorious for doing. Great coaching staff there, as much as I hate them. Oregon, though, did not look very good. Did not look sharp. They've lost the cornerstone of their team. I don't know if he's out for the year. That's probably what they were thinking was going to happen. So just not good for them. So for that, I'm going to take Ohio State, and I don't think that one's going to be particularly close either. It might be for about 2-3 quarters, but I don't think the final is going to be very close at all.
Yeah, Oregon really did not look very good in their opener. I only know that because I bet on that game, so I didn't actually get to tune in and watch it, but I was definitely keeping it up with it on my phone. Was not very happy when I saw they were only able to win by a close margin over San Jose State. But Ohio State, they didn't look. I understand C.J. Stroud probably a little nervous first game, but I just expected more out of them, and it just wasn't there. Not really sure how this game's going to play out, to be honest, because, man in the suit says Ohio State by a billion. First game at home in 2 years. Oregon looked like crap. So I think I'm going to take Oregon to cover the spread. I'll take Ohio State to win, but for betting purposes, I think I'm going to go with the Ducks to cover. So I think Ohio State wins 38-30.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with Ohio State by 17. I think it's going to be a pretty close game to the end. I think a pick six or a block kick, just something is going to happen there at the end of the game to kind of push a relatively close game, like a 7-point game to a 14-point game, and they get another late field goal or something like that added on. I'm not convinced that Oregon is quite ready to compete with Ohio State. Ohio State's got a lot of talent, a lot of depth. I think that's something we'll see, even if they get down as the game progresses, like they did against Minnesota. You're going to see the importance of depth in college football rosters come into effect, and they've got a lot of depth, a lot of 4 and 5 stars that are going to be backups. And I think that talent is just going to be too tough for a team like Oregon to compete against them late in the game. So I'm going to go with Ohio State, and I'll go 37-20.
That's about where I'm at. I feel like it's going to be like 14, 17-point game, something like that. Now we've got what College Game Day is going to be in Ames. It's their game of the week. Got Iowa and Iowa State. I didn't get to see really any of Iowa State's game. I just kind of saw some replays. They struggled from what I saw, but I did watch quite a bit of Iowa's game, and Iowa has probably, I'd say, the best defense in the country. They looked great. And based on their defense alone, I'm going to take Iowa over Iowa State in Ames. I don't know. I just feel like that defense is next level. Like, I've seen some Iowa defenses in the past. It's what they do. But this one just, I don't know. It's different. I feel good about saying Iowa. I bet Iowa money line for sure.
Wearing the Iowa shirt. It's Iowa wrestling though. It's tough. Iowa's defense definitely played lights out, and it's one of the best defenses, even analytics speaking. It's one of the best defenses in the country, behind Alabama. But I think again, it's a week one. I'm trying to steer away from my week one overreactions this year. I tend to not do very well at it. So my heart, really my mind is telling me to say that I was going to squeak this one out on the road based off of what I saw from both teams in week one. I'm going to go with Iowa State. They're the home team. I know they got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Really good quarterback, college game day. I'll just take the Cyclones here.
Yeah, I think this, in addition to it being the game day week, being an in-state rivalry, I do think this is going to be the most exciting game to watch. I think it's going to be a lot like the Notre Dame Florida State game, maybe not a comeback, but just that craziness there at the end, the drive to tie it up, maybe the game gets into overtime and something happens. But I could also see Iowa just dominating the game. And I'm like you, Trey, I don't want to overreact to week one. I think that their defense makes a stop when it matters on the road. And I'm going to pick Iowa by 3. I think it's going to be down the wire. Would not surprise me one bit. I don't see Iowa State running away with it, but I could see Iowa just dominating. And I think that kind of leans me a little bit towards Iowa in the fact that I think they could be the team that could dominate. I don't think it will happen. I think these are two evenly matched teams. I think it's going to be a classic game to tune into. And I'll pick Iowa late on like a strip sack fumble or something like that just seals the epic game. And I think it'll be like a 23-20 game or something. It'll be kind of low scoring. And Iowa pulls it out.
Good pick there. I agree. For our last games, I'm going to cap it at 10 games because a lot of the SEC games this week, it's an SEC team playing a random fill-in-the-blank type team, just some random team. And a lot of like Alabama plays Mercer. I mean, is it really worth even discussing what's going to happen there? So I'm going to cap it at 10. This will be our last game. We're going with Miami or App State. I want to pick App State for you, but I think I'm going to have to go with Miami. They didn't look too hot. I mean, I feel like more of that though was Alabama's just head and shoulders that much better than everybody else. I feel like Alabama could have played Clemson or Georgia and probably would have yielded the same result. They're just that good this year. It's not really fair. So I can't really have a lot of takeaways from that game, but I will have to say Miami. I do think it will be pretty close though. If that makes anybody feel better. I feel like it'll be like a 7-point game or so.
Well, no one was really picking App State to beat Michigan in the Big 12.
I knew you were going to go. I knew it.
Then, they took down North Carolina a couple years ago. Almost took down Tennessee a couple years ago. You know what? Let's just take them. Miami, I'm not sold on Miami. They always get overhyped. They come into the year. The last few seasons, they've came in, a top 20 team, and Manny Diaz is just, he's whatever. So why not? Why not the Nears? Let's go. Roll Nears, baby.
Yes.
Oh man, if this was in, beautiful stadium there in Boone, North Carolina. Beautiful restaurant down the road in Daniel Boone's all-you-can-eat buffet, where they just bring you fried chicken right there at your table. Makes me hungry.
Buttermilk biscuits.
Oh man, Boone was in Boone not too long ago. Went for a drive, got lost, and ended up in Boone, and was not upset one bit. Love going to Boone, but I'm gonna have to take Miami in this one. I do think it's close. I think App State keeps it close, but I think Miami. I think King is just a little too much speed for him. Yeah, I'm not sold on Manny Diaz. I do think a lot of it had to do with Alabama, like you said, Maddie, just being head and heels over everybody. I don't see a team competing with them this year, except for Georgia, and I don't think Georgia has anybody on offense that can throw it at Bama. So see another undefeated season out of Bama, but except Tennessee, no. Yeah, I if it was in Boone, maybe that atmosphere and those buttermilk biscuits could pump the Nears up, but I'm gonna have to go with Miami there at home, and I think they win. I think it's gonna be relatively close. I think it'll be 13. I think it'll be like a 33-20 game or something like that. So.
Well, I will have to say good luck to App State. I personally hate Miami. It's another one of those just long list of teams that I can't stand, thanks to my father. He's taught me who to hate, who to love, and I'm just saying that I'm on the correct side as to who to hate, because if your trifecta is not Ohio State, Miami, top it off with Notre Dame, you're just wrong. I'm sorry.
And those are outside the ones that we are required to hate. In
yeah,
Bama,
like
Florida,
outside of the requirement.
Yeah. We'll throw Duke basketball in there. But
don't do that to me. Yeah. Well, it was a great time we've had on the show. Thanks everybody who has listened and watched. Be sure to like, subscribe, download, do whatever you please with it. Be sure to show it to Vols Picks or someone who knows him if you happen to see them. I'm sure he would love to have our free shout outs every week. Just a couple things I'd like to end with. We're going to beat Pitt. Y'all are wrong. Y'all are the negavols that we are preaching against. No. But in reality, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm pretty excited to be there. I know it's a noon game and not everyone gets hyped for noon games, but I am hyped right now. I will be listening to Rocky Top every day this week and probably 100 times on my drive up. I can't wait. Go Vols. Good night.